Thanks for tuning in to the Loser Kid Pinball Podcast. We are on episode 164. It's going to be an epic podcast, as always. With me, my co-host,
Scott Larson.
I'm Josh Roop. And if you are looking for the new King Kong Myth of Terror Island, today is the day to be hitting up Flipping Out Pinball with Zach and Nicole Meny. They will get you hooked up. If you want an LE, I don't know if you can get one, but hit them up.
You better jump on it. Yeah.
It's
they're going fast.
I hear these are selling like hotcakes. This game looks insane, and there's no one better to talk to about this than the GOAT himself, Keith Elwin. So, Keith, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. I know it's a very busy day. Yeah. Again, you're the official third host, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I hear that Travis Murray's trying to vie for your spot, though.
He keeps trying, but Travis started his own podcast, so he doesn't care anymore.
I go on his podcast and he doesn't show up. So
yeah, that's what happens, you know.
He had to go to like a local 7-Eleven for their internet so he could catch the last 30 minutes of the podcast.
Wasn't he walking around in the podcast? It was like he was walking around his house trying to find service.
Yeah. He had just moved in, didn't have any service. Yeah.
Nothing like paying $5 to the gentleman at 7-Eleven to let you steal the Wi-Fi.
Hey, can I get a Slurpee and the Wi-Fi password? Yeah. Okay. So we have Keith Elwin. We are trying to be very careful about Keith's time because he has a very busy day. This is release day. Just a quick recap in case you are living under a rock. Keith burst onto the scene with Iron Maiden, which is right above my head, and then followed it up with Jurassic Park and the
Avengers.
Avengers, Infinity Stones, and then Godzilla. He also just sneaked in a Bond 60, and now he finished up with Jaws, and now he's on to King Kong. So we can definitely solidify Keith as the king of monsters, and and has sold more monster pinball machines than anybody in history. So again, Keith, welcome to the show. We always love having you on because of the insights that you bring. And okay, so how has the release been? Just want to get your feedback on that.
It's been a strange day, man. I walk in my office and there's a banana sitting there. The banana flippers are out. It's great.
Okay, but did you originally put
banana flippers in it?
Yeah. Did you leave the banana flippers in the coin box though, as like a mod that you could do?
To answer your question, there is a Pro behind me that has banana flippers in it. Yes. So I've had these banana flippers for decades. I don't know where I came across them, and I used them once. Put them in AC/DC as a mini tournament at my house. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, this is so hard. This is great." And that's the only time I've ever used them. And then when we're, developing Kong, it's like, yeah, for the hell of it, I'm just going to put banana flippers in the Pro. And everyone went crazy. So it turned off extra balls, made it extra hard. And we're having, competition to get the highest score with banana flippers.
Yeah, it totally changes the game, obviously, because all the trajectories that you've memorized over the years they go right out the window. Can you trap up on banana flippers, or do they kind of oscillate? That's pretty much all you can do,
yeah.
Yeah.
Trap and sling. It's very hard. You probably have just milliseconds if you're shooting anywhere than up the middle. It's got this nice little friendly zone at the middle, but if you're trying to shoot the side, you either flip and miss or you're just going too soon and up the middle. They're pretty infuriating, but it's hilarious if you've been playing pinball a long time. So, yeah.
Everybody's looking at Pinball Life now. See if there's banana flippers for sale.
God, they're so expensive. It's serious. They're very expensive.
Is that why you had a cart of bananas also that you posted a picture of today?
Yeah, well, our producer Kevin was rolling around the banana cart, giving everyone a banana. So I got a picture of the cart before it emptied.
That's awesome.
Okay, although I am super excited for Kong, I was secretly wondering if this was a Donkey Kong, if this was a tease for a Donkey Kong as opposed to King Kong. But however, King Kong is perfect. It's right next to Godzilla. Now the question is, did you know that you were going to be working on both of these themes, or did Kong come after you had already started working on Godzilla?
So after Godzilla released, George was like, "Hey, let's do King Kong," and I'm like, "No, Tired of monster games. He's like, well, think about it. Think about it. And I was like, all right. And then when Jaws popped up, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And then we were getting near the end of Jaws cycle, and George is like, the King Kong, King Kong. And, he kind of grilled me for 3 days, and finally, all right, I'll do it.
If you give me another Bond style on the side. Just kidding.
Yeah, that was fun. I love Bond.
But okay, I will say this. Okay, I think it's genius. By the way, George is 100% right on this. Having King Kong and Godzilla, because anybody who has Godzilla is going to want the complete package. And the one thing I really want to know, is there a secret Kong versus Godzilla mode in the game?
Obviously, that's a multiple license issue.
Okay, Kong versus giant lizard, radioactive lizard guy.
I'm not going to lie and say we don't have some funny call-outs.
Okay.
Might reference a lizard, unnamed. But we're actually, we're always looking into that. But like I said, it's pretty complicated. We're going to need three different licensors on the same page to do work with our, own IP, which it's tough.
Yeah, definitely.
It's 100% not off the table, but it's tough.
So if you've been in the hobby long enough, you know that there was originally a Data East King Kong. And as soon as I saw this, that King Kong artwork front and center is very similar to that Data. Did any of that original game inspire what you did here? Just the art?
So Kevin O'Connor started off as the sole artist on this game, and it was kind of a tribute to him. So I was like, how do you feel about, taking this project you work so hard on that hardly anyone has seen, kind of doing the same insert arrangement and artwork down by the flipper area. And he was, he was all for it. So I was like, all right, we'll make it work. So that's how that came about.
That's awesome. For those that don't know, Kevin O'Connor is one of my favorite. He did World Cup Soccer. That's the one that's famous to me. He's been around he's a legend. Gomez was not lying in the trailer when he said between Greg Ferris, Kevin O'Connor, and Jeremy Packard, Zombie Yeti. I mean, this is quite the legendary lineup of artists. Why did all three collaborate on this one project?
So I was really trying to get Greg Ferris to do this project. I knew he was retiring soon. I was kind of, come on, man, let's just one last rodeo, and that became the project code name was Rodeo, because we were trying to get Greg Ferris to do one last rodeo with us. He's like, nah, I'm good. And then like 2 months after he retired, Sebastian, our then art director, reached out to him, and he's like, you know what? I'll do the Playfield. All right, awesome. And then as we're getting closer to the end date, Jeremy jumped on to kind of help bring it to the finish line. So basically, the compositions, a lot of the compositions were Kevin and Greg, and Jeremy did a lot of the cabinet art.
Nice.
You know what, the Playfield art, it does have a little bit of that retro feel. It doesn't feel like any of your recent games, because it feels a little bit more of that kind of blocky 90s stuff. Yeah, and in many ways it's a total throwback. I love it.
Yeah, it's definitely Greg's artwork, other than the middle part, which is inspired by the old King Kong and Kevin's artwork. Greg pretty much filled in the rest all around that.
Go ahead, Josh.
I would say just this artwork looks really amazing. And one thing I've got to congratulate the whole team on this is the fact that you were able to tie jungle with city and make it look cohesive. Because you're definitely like, the left is more of an aesthetic of the jungle, with New York being that upper right and right side. Was that hard to kind of gel and whatnot? Or was it just, it's King Kong and it just makes sense?
It was. The only struggle I really had was the Gong had to end up on the right side, which, higher up than most of the other jungle artwork. That was really the struggle with that. Otherwise, it was pretty much jungle at the bottom, and then kind of fused into New York City in the upper right. And if you've ever read the book, like the New York scene is like 6 pages. It's barely an afterthought in the book.
It really is. That's what's funny though is iconically you look at King Kong and you think of the Empire State Building, you think of him hanging off of that, but really New York's not actually a ton of to it. So
no, it was mostly about interactions and them trying to rescue Anne. It's very little New York, which was crazy. I had no idea until I started this project and read it, and I was like, "That's it." So he escapes the theater and climbs a building. Okay.
So okay, King Kong is a little bit like Godzilla in that there have been so many movies, so many different ways that the story has been told and retold. So on King Kong, this is actually the first that I'd heard that it was a book. I really had no idea. I thought it was like some silent film from like the 1920s or something. So you have so many options, including the latest Kong iterations, and then getting into Kong versus Godzilla, all those things. So what do you bring from all that material to tell your story in the game?
Well, we have to tell our story because we don't want to infringe on anything particular thing that happened in a movie that didn't happen in the book. Um, the only request I got was, we can't do a damsel in distress. We got to make Anne more of the explorer type.
Sure.
She's just not there, just constantly needing rescue. So I kind of came up with, kind of a Tomb Raider vibe. They're there, looking for treasure. They're archaeologists, but Carl Denham's there filming the whole thing for, the newsreels back in the theater back then. So it's kind of the whole vibe of the movie. They arrive at the island. They're looking for treasures. So part of the game is you're actually looking for treasures. We have a bunch of different treasures, and then they come across Kong. It's kind of picks up with the book from there on, where they come across Kong, and a lot of the adventures happen are similar to what happened in the book, all the way up to New York.
So you're speaking of like Kong and everything in the jungle and whatnot. When I look at this game, I see a lot of throwback to like Congo and to Indiana Jones, and I even felt some of it in the sound clips. Did those two games kind of influence this design? Because even like the airplane in the top right above the wire form is something similar into Indiana Jones and stuff like that.
Not so much Indiana Jones. Yeah, definitely has some Congo vibes. If you look closely, some of the hieroglyphs in the artwork near the bottom, you'll see some Easter eggs from Greg Ferris in there, kind of like a Congo did. Kevin O'Connor did the same thing with Congo.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, obviously if it's a jungle-based game, it's going to have kind of a vibe of one of those two.
Yeah.
But I would say, I would lean more towards the Congo than Indiana Jones.
Does it yell hippos?
Hippos.
There is, there are some references to hippos. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Not having
That's
a
great.
licensure made it super fun to do any kind of script work.
So this was kind of just do everything, whatever you want then, huh?
I mean, to a point.
Yeah.
I can't do something that Seth and Georgia look at. Is like, what were you thinking? So.
Okay, so did you have to go through any other? King Kong is typically associated with Universal, and so did you have, or because you were going off the source material of the book, is it so old that you had a little more, kind of like, like a Wizard of Oz book, that you could go through, or Alice in Wonderland or something like that, where you're not tied to anybody who's holding the license, or did you still have to work through licensing?
Nope. We just, as long as we kind of stuck to the book and their characters, we didn't have to deal with anyone.
So, okay. So here's the question now, because we all know the dance that goes along with licensing and them having influence over what you can and can't put in the game. Tell me about the freedom that you can have while having the story to tell in your own way, but also not having to go through approval. I could see it as being a little bit of a double-edged sword, and I would argue that sometimes having that stopgap will help you keep you focused and keep you on goal, but at the same time, sometimes it can inhibit something that's really cool that you want to put in the game.
Yeah, this is a double-edged sword. I mean, Yeah, technically it's unlicensed. I can do whatever I want, but I pretty much have to follow the guidelines of uh, the book, which is the only public domain of the property. So if I start veering off, oh, Kong battles a robot Kong in outer space or something, then Toho's going to say, well, hey, we have Mecha Kong. It's I really had to follow kind of a straight line of the story, but we can embellish it on our own ways. But it pretty much sticks true to the book, other than the backgrounds of the characters, what they're doing there, and how it ends.
Does that also give you some freedom into like the bill of material? If you don't have to worry about paying for a license, does that help you and say, oh, because I know Josh sent this out, and it's a crazy list of all the things that are in the game. And you have the Kong sculpt, you have the custom Gong sculpt, you have the 4 drop targets, you have the log diverter, you have the airplane, the punch kickback, the bouncing spider, with the magnet underneath. And so
you forgot the subway that also you lock the balls in,
yeah,
and the Kong mech itself. That yeah,
yeah. No, they were actually separate bonds. So
okay.
That extra money probably went to pay the 3D artists. I don't know. that's a decision on the other side of the building. But yeah, our bombs all stay the same no matter licensed, unlicensed.
That's actually good to know, because we have speculated behind the scenes many times about, okay, if you get, is it detrimental to get a mega license because you have to recover the money?
No,
And
well,
I didn't
obviously
know.
that money will come from somewhere, and
Sure.
it's generally not the game bomb itself, because we pretty much have a static number that we work for. Obviously, as inflation goes up, that number kind of slides up a little bit, but there's nothing crazy. Oh, this is unlicensed. You can have 20 mechs on it. That's not going to happen.
You can have lasers in the back glass, and yeah.
You do a smoke show, but then it gets vacuumed out after each game. So I mean, there is a ton of mechs in this, though. Like, is there anything that didn't make it? Because it feels like you put the kitchen sink in.
Yeah. We did run out of coil drives, and I originally wanted Kong's mouth to move, and it's got to the point, well, if we have that, we have to pull out something that's cool. And it's like, so I kind of had to give and take on that one.
Okay, was the mouth moving? Was that the goal, to eat the ball? Because I know everybody wants Kong to eat the ball.
That'd be a very, very small ball. Kong does eat the ball, just not on the playfield.
Oh.
That is amazing.
I'll make everyone happy when they get an extra ball.
I really wanted to see Kong as like the potato sculpt, like in Jaws, when it just looked kind of odd when you were trying to work on that.
Oh yeah.
Rocking out the playfield.
I don't think we ever had a phase that bad. Yeah, I don't know, 3D print somewhere, but it looked pretty much just like him.
Yeah,
just unpainted. It never had that many iterations.
You brought one to Expo, and it looked like a potato that launched out at the playfield.
Yeah.
Well, that was because that was a unique mech. That's when the shark ate the ball. We didn't want to, spend a bunch of money because we weren't sure that mech was even going to work, much less survive. And then it ended up just getting cut anyway. So they never finished it. They're like, "Well, here's your mech back." And it's like Harrison and I, yeah, it looks like a baked potato. I guess they didn't get too far on it.
Well, if you do a Veggie Tales, you now know what.
Oh my gosh, that would be
shark. Yes.
Amazing. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
To answer your question, okay, there was a drop target in front of the cave on the early Whitewoods, but actually I deemed that to be too annoying because it would catch air and jump over the flipper. I was like, yeah, this isn't fun.
Yeah.
So you usually aim for a good balance between like stop and go, but a lot of flow. I know that you've kind of kept away from scoops and stuff like that. And then, if the theme deems it appropriate, you put it in. Like with Godzilla, there's a lot of flow there, but to stop it, you had the scoop. In this game, I noticed there's a little bit of stop and go with, you got kind of, I don't know if you consider a scoop, because it does go to a vuck. They're underneath the punch. And then you've got like a subway lock. And then I'm trying to think, I could have swore there was one more spot where it kind of stops. Is that kind of your three main?
Cave. There's 2 vucks on one wire for him.
Okay. And so is that kind of, I don't know. is this still as flowy as your other games? I guess
This flows extremely well, I'll say.
Okay.
So the little thing on the right, the little punchback thing you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
I actually designed the whole game around that shot. It was originally to do something else, but then it wasn't working as consistently as I wanted. And so I tried just sticking one of those kicker targets in there and firing it back at the upper right flipper. And I was like, oh, wow, yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And so, if you hit it too slowly, or sometimes we actually want to stop the ball in the little dump out scoop there, it won't fire the target. So the ball will spiral around, hit the target, and drop into the vuck. It'll for locking island locks and starting New York City events. But other than that, it fires the ball right back at you. So yeah, this game's it's really fast. The magnet kind of down there by the flippers, the sweepable drops also kind of ricochet and go all the way around to the upper right flipper if you do it right. We have rules dedicated to that.
Amazing. And so the Gong, I noticed on the Pro it goes into the scoop, but on the Premium, is it a kickback behind the Gong as well that shoots back at you?
So there's two coils on the Gong, and what they do is they latch a spring. So when the Gong is locked, you hit the Gong, it fires the ball back at you, and then it kind of swings a little bit. Once you're qualified in island mode, that those two coils unlock the Gong, and you can shoot through it. It's like kind of a swinging target, kind of Mando style.
Nice.
So you are known for having a lot of creative wire forms. I don't see as many plastic forms on your games. Is there a fascination that you have with having the wire forms? Because the wire forms have very creative paths that move all over the place. And Godzilla, you have the crisscross. On Infinity Quest, you have the big launch that goes all the way around the game. Probably one of the longest shots in pinball. Tell me about why. What are your thoughts on putting the habit trails in?
You can do more with them. Obviously, I can't have plastic ramps crossing the playfield for numerous reasons. One of which is if you ever worked on Arabian Nights and put too much weight on your arm and watch that thing, they're fragile. They obstruct your view. I think the wire forms are just clean and neat. And like I said, you can do more with them. It's easier to do Helix and whatever else you need done.
And you can kind of see through them a little bit better than the plastic as well, especially with those cross shots that you have going on.
It looks much cooler. That's one thing. Another thing is, do you calculate on the shape of the form to see how much speed the ball is going to have? Because so an example would be like Lord of the Rings, how they have that habit trail that the seesaws back and forth, and it really slows the ball down. Is that what you take into account when you're designing a helix or a habit trail?
Yeah. You'll see. We have the wireframe that runs on the left side. We have it doing a little S curve to slow the ball down a little bit. Obviously, any place that balls are going to be flying around. So on the biplane ramp, the one that does the helix, we actually have extra wire on the top because it goes flying around that helix. So it's actually held in with gravity at certain points, and then it goes back to a regular wire form. And for the slow ramps, like we call it the cliffs ramp. It's a ramp that crosses over from the upper left flipper to the upper right flipper. That one's fairly slow, so it's only on 2 wires, and then it has a unique dump off at the end. So instead of kind of just dropping by the flipper, it actually pushes the ball back up the right orbit a bit for a nicer setup shot.
Well, I know that like on Godzilla, that Gomez is the one that told you actually to put the spirals and stuff in because to slow down the ball, right? Originally.
No, he's like, how can you design Avengers and design a ramp like this? And I was like, I was trying to save us money. She's like, no, put a helix in it. I was like, all right. So
how dare you?
That's a true story. I was petrified of how over Godzilla was, over budget. But George is like, no, you gotta, you can't do Avengers and do a boring ramp game like this. So we added the helix.
Which one? The helix over the Tesla shot area? The right upper?
Yeah. I originally had a helix there, and then Harrison was like, oh, that's going to be so expensive. And then it's like, all right, so we did a version 2 without the helix. And George saw that. Like, no, get that out of here. Put the helix back in.
It is. I like that the all the wire forms. It does make the part of pinball. The fun is just watching the ball move around and move all over the playfield, and having those extended ball paths really capture the experience for me. So that's one thing that I suspect connects a lot of people with your games, is that even when they do something, even something simple, it looks really cool with the ball moving all the way around.
Yeah, and I
And
admit, if you just look at a picture of this game, you're not gonna have any idea where any of the shots go, because it's really hard to figure it out.
I'm still trying to figure it out.
So we have this diverter. So basically, it's almost like a mini playfield. It's not a mini playfield because we have this floating upper left flipper, and there's a little diverter. It's like a dynamic in lane that pops up to feed the upper left flipper, and it stays up for a few seconds, drops back down. So you have a few seconds to hit the drops. Otherwise, it can fall back down into what we call the river, or you can use it to shoot the clips ramp across to the other flipper. So we can use this so you can actually keep comboing those two shots, kind of like a figure eight. If you shoot the clips ramp, and then there's a shot above the biplane ramp that'll feed right back into the diverter. So there's one mode where you're trying to cross the chasm, and you can actually just keep shooting the figure eight between the upper two flippers for a while. But obviously, we don't want players to do that all the time, which is why we have that in lane on a coil. So, on normal play, it's not going to be up for very long. You can also use the action button to bring that diverter up for a few seconds too.
Kind of like flip lock.
A little bit. So if you shoot the center spinner, it comes around. It'll almost always bring that diverter up. But sometimes you're shooting the drop targets from the lower flippers, and the ball just kind of ends up in that area. You hit the action button to bring that diverter up to feed the upper left flipper. Otherwise, it's going to dump down the little zigzag river thing we have.
Gotcha. Did I see this right in the trailer as well? You guys didn't really talk about this, but is the center a spinner that feeds to the left orbit that's also a spinner?
Yeah.
So what's the purpose of a double spinner on the same trail?
Because it's the shot on the left is an orbit to the upper right flipper.
Okay. So
you have a spinner from the left flipper and a spinner from the right flipper. So shooting the spinner in the middle is going to activate both spinners, but if you shoot it from the right flipper, it's just the left spinner.
Nice.
So go ahead, Josh. Finish.
I was just thinking, because like in Godzilla, like you get a bridge bonus by hitting so many switch hits.
Mm-hmm.
So using that double spinner to your advantage could really, if you have any switch modes in this game, it could really.
The trade-off is the center spinner is a little bit of a tighter shot than the left spinner.
Okay. You're already thinking about all this, man. You've already got this all down.
It's like he's been looking at this. Okay, the very left side of what am I seeing that? Is that like a kickback that on the far left? Because I see you have the out lane, but then you have a lane past the out lane. What is that?
So that's called the river. So when that diverter for the upper left flipper is down, it'll drain down a river. It's a zigzag path.
Okay.
It's a translucent sculpt of a river area, and zigzags down basically because we have some modes where you shoot the center spinner and it goes all the way around and it goes through the river and then feeds the left flipper.
And this is the dreaded out lane's actually your in lane, and your in lane's your out lane, right?
No, there's a left in lane, there's the out lane to the left of it, and then the lane to the left of that is just a feed from the upper area to the bottom of the flipper.
It doesn't appear that the ball will accidentally fall into the river. There is a spot there, but I bet that's not. It does? Oh, okay.
It does. You guys will see tomorrow. We're going to stream. So
okay,
nice.
So tell me about the modes in this game. I put in the quarter, and the theme music comes up. How many options do I have? The modes to start off with.
So our main mode is King Kong climbing. So around the playfield, you see climb arrows. So when you start the game, you'll have a set of climb arrows. You complete that set of climb arrows, it awards you one of the windows on the building. You'll see there's probably, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 inserts in the middle of the playfield that are windows. For each one of those you complete, you get award, a mode, or a perk. And each time you complete an entire floor in the building, it lights a New York City event. It's going to be selectable events. Right now, we just have one in there. It's called Stage Fright. But in the future, it's going to have a bunch of different things you can choose from that take place in New York City. So that's the whole climb feature. The pit is a magnet with a spider. That's kind of the Bozo multiball, if you will. You hit the pit like 3 times, and it lights one of the 3 different multiballs that are in the pit of the 3 different creatures that are in there. Obviously, it's a little dangerous because of the magnet, but it's there. You know, if you get a couple hits in there, and he's like, "Well, I got to go for it now because that's a multi-ball." We have the King Kong multi-ball. When you complete the Kong drop targets on the upper left there, you'll be lighting a center ramp to for the King Kong locks. The Gong is, like I said, when it's in the bash state, it'll throw the ball back at you. And then once it's unlocked, once you do that enough, you shoot in there, it shoots into the buck, and you can start one of the island scenes. So I think there's 6 island scenes. The collecting King Kong letters is pretty big. You do various switch hits. Will eventually light the gong to collect the King Kong letter, or you can get it from certain achievements like skill shots. Doing well in an island mode will also spot you King Kong letters. If you spell King, you'll light a mode called Deadeye, which is it's basically a tribute to Skillfire in Congo, where it's basically it's a mode with nothing but skill shots. The difference being after you hit enough of them, you light a jackpot and you plunge to a different area to try to collect that jackpot. Then you have the biplane modes, which is you shoot in the biplane ramp. You shoot that enough, it'll start a biplane attack. And then we have King combos, which you also activate with the Kong drop targets. It's a bunch of combos. You work different combos with different reward thresholds, and one of those is power up, which it's not in yet, but eventually the combos are going to let your power up. And then the last real feature is it's called the Lost Temple. Every time you hit the punchback target or the gong, it'll light what's called the Lost Temple, and then when you shoot the center spinner, you're trying to solve kind of a puzzle, a Mayan puzzle, kind of like you do in video games. You're like trying to figure out the cipher, and all you're basically doing is hitting the lit drop target. Just one lit, you have to hit that drop target. And you do that, 4 times, fill up the whole glyph, and then it unlocks that target behind the drop targets, the treasure target with Gary on it. You hit that and you collect a treasure. So there's a lot going on.
It sounds like it. So I know one of the things I love about your games that I feel like no one really else ever does is there's something going on in the background that is pushing you further to a different goal. So like in Jaws, it's bounty hunt, you're getting your spinners, you're getting your stuff like that. Avengers, you're collecting. I know the Avengers is actually the main part of the game, but you're collecting the Avengers, so you're doing this. But is there anything like that in Kong that you're trying to do?
Yeah, it's the climb feature.
It's the climb feature? Okay.
That's always active. It's active during multi-balls, wizard modes, everything. That's something you're constantly progressing through. And like I say, that lights other wizard modes that you collect via the New York City insert in the little punchback area.
I see you got a little friend with you there up on the front screen. You said he just got printed. He's wet on the right shoulder.
No, this was a 3D printed sample that we got months ago, and it's still wet. Yeah, I don't know why. So yeah, all our sculpts are rotomolded. So this is the 3D print, very, very nice 3D print.
Yes.
But it is a 3D print, and just the paint just doesn't dry. So you can see where I've touched it.
Yeah.
So is it just the right arm that moves up and down, or does it looks like the left arm moves too, right?
Yeah, both arms move. The torso moves. And it goes,
yeah.
Everything half a gorilla does.
Okay, the one question I have is when I saw this, I am a little bit concerned about, in the original Avengers, when you have Hulk back there, where the arms go up and down, and it seemed like the ball always gets stuck in there. So how Is it because the way you position? I mean, it's far in the back on the back right, and so it's less prominent than the Hulk was. But how do you prevent like ball hangups? Because that is the nightmare of a designer.
He's actually in the back panel, so the only interaction he has that the ball can get stuck is when he grabs the ball on the ramp.
Oh,
so that's intentional. There's no way for him to accidentally trap a ball.
Oh, okay.
He can also punch the glass when you get a replay.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Like it hits the glass. That's so great.
You know, they had a shark fin in here, but they kept launching off the shark fin, and it landed in his arm all the time. So.
Yeah. This was designed to be off the playfield and interact with the balls coming both on the ramp, and then he obviously bashes the train to flip it over and dump all the balls out.
When you start a design and you get a theme, what is the first thing you do besides putting, the bottom flippers in? How do you start engineering a playfield?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Usually I try to have a couple shots in mind that I want to do. Then I try to figure out, what kind of toys is this going to have? And then I fill in the rest of the shots generally. Like I said, this game was completely designed around the right orbit punchback thing. And everything else just kind of, it's like, all right, I want to have a giant, gorilla in the back right corner. This spiral thing is an interesting ball path, and it's flat, so I can have this big gorilla taking up, the entire, quarter of the playfield in the back right corner there. All the rest of the shots just came through. I really wanted to do another floating upper flipper like I did Godzilla, meaning there's nothing behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, well, how can I improve on that? Because I don't, I like repeating myself unless I can, at least improve upon it slightly. So I was like, well, that's when I came up with the disappearing in lane for the upper left flipper. I was like, okay, if I make this a diverter, boom, it's a floating flipper that's suddenly not a floating flipper. So now you can easily feed it when you need to, and if you need it to go through, it will just ignore it. Like I said, it's like a mini playfield that's not a mini playfield.
There's no pop bumpers either, right?
Nope.
Is this their first game that actually has a shot behind a flipper too? I mean, excluding like a floating flipper, but like on the right side, you shoot behind it, it goes into a vuck, right?
Well, whoever filmed that was holding up the right flipper. You don't need to hold the right flipper up to shoot that shot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can, but you don't have to.
Oh, I got, Spider-Man vibes, Star Trek, yada, yada.
Else messaged me that too, and I was like, no, you don't have to hold the flipper up. It's a normal shot.
Oh, okay. Yeah, whoever filmed that, come on now.
Hey,
I'm not saying it doesn't make it easier, but you don't have to do that.
Yeah, it's style points.
Actually, some of the modes you get more points for not doing that. So
similar to Iron Maiden.
Yeah. Forgot about that.
Okay, so on the subway car, that is a physical ball lock.
Correct.
Yeah, so you can put that in there, and it seemed like it's almost like the Turtles van and the bridge breaking that you did in Godzilla had a baby, and they made that. And so is that a physical ball lock and can you steal locks?
And how many does it hold?
It holds 3 balls. You cannot steal locks because, come on, my tournament passed. I can't do that to people.
Yeah, I know.
The train was actually a pretty late addition. I originally had Gong grabbing a ball. If you look at his hand,
yeah,
having him grabbing a ball, but then releasing it was a problem. I said, well, we can throw it, and it's like, well, yeah, nobody was a fan of that. So he's like, well, what else can he do? I was like, well, we can have him dump over a train full of balls, and everyone thought that was the greatest thing. I was like, yeah, all right, let's try it. And
it looks cool.
It was like, yeah, that's actually pretty cool. Yeah, so what started off as like, but maybe let's just try this, and then it's like, oh, actually, this is really cool.
How quickly it looks like you have to react pretty quickly when that kickback hits to that upper flipper. Is there any?
No, it's not quick. You just have to expect it. I think first time people play the game, they're expecting that to be a right orbit, and it's not. It's because they're like, whoa, wait, what? It's coming back.
Yet the left orbit also feeds to the right flipper?
Yes.
Man, you confuse me sometimes on your ball paths without getting hands on.
I'm sorry. I told you, if you look at a picture, you're gonna assume the ball goes somewhere where it doesn't actually go, and that's great. Seth was actually complaining to me. He's like, it's like, I don't know what to call these shots because this isn't an orbit. And I was like, yeah, no, it's not. I don't know what to call it either.
It's a hybrid.
And I love that. I love those shots. It reminds you kind of theater magic style, right? Where you're shooting, it feels like it's far enough right. It should be an orbit, and all of a sudden it like turns into a ramp, and it's like, wait a minute, what's going on here? That is one of my favorite shots of all time. Is on Jaws, that right orbit to ramp, whatever it is. It feels so satisfying geometry, like from the geometry to hit that, and it doesn't feel like if you hit it solid, it doesn't reject, and even then, like there's a little bit of give to it. It just I feel like a lot of your shots do that. It's the same with Avengers. Avengers did that as well on the right side. It just some of these shots, they just feel so good when you hit them. So
yeah, I love that shot on Jaws too. I think this is the game where I actually have a left orbit. I don't think any of my other games have a left orbit where it traditionally would be.
Yeah. I guess you don't. I was gonna say maybe Iron Maiden does.
No, because Iron Maiden, the orbit's it's kind of a center.
Yeah,
it's a center type thing.
Holy crap! First
Jaws
time in orbit.
originally had one, and I hated it, so then I made it do the return instead.
Yeah, the loop to loop.
Mm-hmm.
That is a really cool shot too, where you feed it from the upper and it drains it right back, or it comes right back at you through that left side.
See that again? That was a pivot. That was originally a giant helix, and then Harrison's like, "I got bad news for you. We're out of room because we couldn't. It didn't have enough space to do an entire helix, so it kind of just took the helix, cut it in half, and bent the wires backwards, and said, well, let's see if we have enough inertia to do this." And we did. It was like, oh, great. This is actually one of my favorite ramps in the game.
Is there any, because one of your, I would say maybe a signature, I don't know, is the 180 ramp. You've got it on Jurassic Park. You've got it on, there's a lot of games that you have. Does this have a 180 in it as well?
No, it does not.
Okay.
I don't want that to be my signature ramp. This doesn't have a Newton ball. I know everyone's probably predicted it would. It doesn't have a Newton ball, no 180 ramp. Trying to do different stuff.
Yeah. No, it's all working out great. And I just know, like with Jurassic Park, you had that, and then I think Jaws definitely had that as the wave ramp or whatever. But I just didn't see that on this. I know that some people do complain about the 180 ramps, but you know what? If you hit it better, if you hit it more on, you don't have to worry about it.
I like 180 ramps.
I like 180s. Yeah,
I love them. I like them, but like I said, I try not to repeat myself too much. And since Jaws had 2 of them, I was like, I'm fine not doing it.
Yeah.
Looking at the color scheme, this is a very poppy color scheme. Like, so I'm wondering a little bit, and maybe Jeremy can talk a little bit more to this. That there is a question about, it's Kong. Should you do more of like a subdued color palette? But this has purples in it. It has greens. It has fuchsia.
I think. Well, I don't think that was really a Jeremy's call. That was kind of set up early by Kevin O'Connor. I think it's kind of a throwback to the color palette of the original Kong.
Sure.
As to why that was done, because like I said, Jeremy came on pretty late to help finish up the cabinet art, so it was those colors were already in place.
Why did they only make 10 Kongs? The originals, the Data East ones.
From what Gary said, 1, it wasn't a good game, and 2, Back to the Future is on its tail.
Oh,
gotcha. Okay, I just like it's just a really cool game, and you don't see a ton of them because they only made a handful of them. And did you play this? Did you play the original Kong much while you were developing?
Do you guys have an original Kong there?
No, I haven't played one of those in 30 years. I mean, it's whenever it was at Expo a long time ago.
Time to get people to bring more Kongs out to Expo.
Exactly.
I don't know. I heard one of them burned down or something. There's only 9 left.
Okay, I will say, when I heard about the fires in LA, I was legit thinking, obviously a terrible thing, but I'm thinking those are a lot of expensive houses. I wonder how many pinball machines were in there.
Yeah.
Am I the only one who thought that?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's why you get your insurance company to call Flipping Out Pinball to send you a new King Kong to replace.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Time to upgrade your collection anyway, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
There's the silver lining right there. Get the Godzilla and the Kong to go right next to each other.
I think the problem is I need to figure out a way to get Godzilla and Kong next to each other because I'm out of space, but I don't know how else I need to modify things. But
that's why you need smaller games.
Yeah, get a
safecracker. Yeah,
get a Revenge from Mars.
Okay, is Revenge from Mars really that much smaller? It's like a foot smaller, but it still covers the same footpath.
Yeah, I think it has more room for monitor and boards, but I think it's pretty much the same footprint. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else like that you're just excited about this game that we haven't touched on yet, Keith?
Yeah. What are the things that we should have asked that we're not smart enough to ask?
I'm excited to people watch the stream to see the flow of the game. Those sweepable drop targets are so satisfying that I like this so much in Quicksilver. I just I want to do my own take on these, and I think it just works. First try, which was really weird. We had the first Whitewood. I just kind of guessed how they should align, and then we never moved them. So it's still my favorite part of the game. It's just sweeping those, have it come all the way around. You shoot the biplane ramp for a sweep combo. It's just fun things like that, fun pinball moments. This game has a lot of energy, the music, the sound. Jerry Thompson killed it. It's very high energy, fast paced game. As opposed to kind of a slog adventure, type of game, which I'm not a fan of. And honestly, that was petrified when Jaws came out because I thought everyone would think that. Because to me, it's not my style really. Is to have kind of a slow, long story based game, but people really like it, and I was like, oh, that's amazing because I was so scared that this is boring. This is no energy. I was like, this is the movie though. This is what if you ever watched the movie, it's not action packed, but this game, it's a lot more action packed. I don't know. I had a lot of fun making it, and I hope everyone gets to enjoy it.
I did want to follow up on one thing, and I thought about this before. Sweepable drop targets. So how are they engineered differently than your standard drop targets?
It's all about the angle. So if you get nice ball trajectory path, you get those targets kind of aligned in that same trajectory, and you can sweep all four of them if you do it just right. Because Maiden had the sweep feature, but that was a 3-target bank, and that was kind of a little further in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about that angle, man. If you ever played classic Sterns, they live on the sweep. Games like Flight 2000, you shoot that spinner, and it's like almost tries to sweep by itself. Yep. You don't need to do anything. It was always one of my favorite features when I was playing those games as a kid. And, spinners and sweepable drops. I can design games around those all day.
Mm-hmm. How many spinners does this one have?
Two optic spinners.
So the real question that's on everyone's mind that I know that you've already seen, huh?
Does it eat the ball?
Does it eat the ball? No. So they noticed that when the Gong was released last week, Rick Nagel's initials weren't on the Gong, which means obvious. Huh?
I said, poor Rick.
I know.
So why did he quit Stern?
Yeah.
And why did he start
his new
Nagel
job?
Oil?
How's his new job?
Yeah, Nagel Oil's doing well. He's on the Gong. He's just on the side.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm
sorry. It's
hilarious. Those glyphs wrap around to the sides.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha. No, it's funny when people start speculating. They're like, "Oh, Rick's initials aren't on there. He must have quit."
He's done. R.I.P. Rick. R.I.P. You had a good run.
Yeah.
You had a good run.
It's a lot more of a design team than 5 or whatever there was room for initials for in the front. So yeah, they wrap around.
How did the Gong feels a little bit like the swinging bell in AC/DC. So, can you tell me, was that an inspiration or was it just your own way of doing things?
Actually, I really like that on AC/DC. I wouldn't say it was an inspiration, but I was kind of hoping for the same swinging feature. Whereas AC/DC, you kind of hit it and then it hits the ball back at you.
Kicks it back at you.
Yeah, I wasn't looking for that. I really wanted the Gong to fire back at you, so we put a really heavy spring on there. And then there's times where I want it to shoot through, or unlike AC/DC, good luck getting it past it. So this, the coil releases you can shoot right through to the speed vuck.
Awesome. I don't know. Everyone, I haven't heard a negative thing yet. I'm excited for this game. I'm slightly jealous of Scott. I won't be there Thursday, but Scott gets to come up and hang out with you, go through Kong and play this and give it a try. Yeah, man. Just congratulations. It's
Thanks.
another home run.
Thanks. This is the best day because then I can move on to the next project.
You can actually talk about it and move on. Yeah.
Okay. Because I started this thing like a year and a half ago, so it's always great to all right, time to start something else. I'm ready.
Okay, and another thing people are going to ask about accessories, like, are they in some state of development? I know the goal would be to have them pretty close to launch, because if people are buying the game, a lot of times they're just like add, and complete package.
Yeah. Hopefully they will be soon.
Okay.
Most of them are done. We're still working on the topper. Hopefully people really like this topper. I really like it. So Harrison is designing this topper, and I think he did an amazing job.
Wow.
Actually, the two questions our audience always loves us asking, I don't know why, but we'll do it anyway. How many designs ahead are you, Keith? And how many flippers are on your next game?
Yeah. 3 flippers are on my next game, and that's where I'm at designing. I haven't gone forward.
Wow, you're only one design. You're on the current design after this, and that's
okay. But it is a center. It is a flipper that the action button changes where it goes. It either flips left or flips right.
Yeah, it's on a turntable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, my days of working ahead are over. You can only do that for so long.
Yeah.
Well, it's because they've got you also teaching classes down there how to design, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm also cutting up clips for Jaws still. It's just, once you have a lot of projects under your belt, you're just constantly having to maintain them for various reasons,
Yeah.
Okay. That is actually a question though, since you don't have, since this is an unlicensed theme, you have to actually develop all of the LCD stuff.
Yes.
In addition to that. And so that can be challenging too, because if you have movie assets or something, it's easier to just grab a clip and throw it in there. But this, you actually have to have an animation department do something to make it interesting.
Yeah. So again, we're talking about the double-edged sword. Is it great having assets? Yes. Is it tough having assets? Yes. I experienced that with Jaws. I was like, all right, I'm going to write a mode around, these guys fishing. Okay. How do I do that? Well, it's got to match what's going on screen, and not much is going on screen.
Two dudes like casting the
stars
pole.
mode. It's just classic. That's why I gave it to Elizabeth. It's like, have fun with this. It's like, it's so tough to write rules that actually match what's going on the screen. Whereas with this, I could say, all right, King Kong is battling a T-Rex, and then 2 other T-Rexes come out. It's like, well, yeah. So we can just make this stuff up. Obviously, it's more of a drain on the animation department, but again, I get more freedom in what's going on the screen and with the rules.
I guess one other question I actually did have before we get past it. In Practical Joker's Brian Quinn, how the heck did he get involved in a project like this?
Well, I have no idea. We were looking for voice talent, and Jody's like, "Oh, Brian Quinn wants to be in on it." He's like, "Oh, okay." So it all happened within like a week. So
oh, really?
We actually have, this is the most actors we've used. We have, I think we have 4 different voice actors plus Brian Quinn did. So we have some of the sailors, and he did some of the Kong grunts and growls.
Okay.
He did one of the characters named Jimmy, who's kind of a minor character, but he did a great job.
I love the video because it looks like he's recording his kitchen. There's like a fridge behind him and the radiator. That's awesome.
Like I said, this was all put together last second. He was like, "Yeah, I can do this. Yeah. Oh, this looks great." So we got him a script, and it happened so fast. It was crazy. But yeah, we have like Rick Zeef from Godzilla. His daughter actually did some voice work for us, and a couple other his actor friends helped us with all the voices for the characters.
Well, that is one thing that's actually been exceptional in your games, is that like the voice call outs for Godzilla, the voice calls for Iron Man, they have been spot on with not just detracting, because there are some games where you play and you're like, that's not exactly how I want the voices. Yeah. But you guys have been able to merge very well your themes with the right actors, and I really appreciate that on your games.
Yeah, when we can choose whoever we want, it's great. Sometimes you have to work with the studio's actor. If they're having a bad day or don't want to be there, it makes it tough.
Yeah.
Well, even the lines are great. Some of those lines are just so quotable from all the games.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely have some reused quotes from other games for sure.
Any chance there's a shoot the wamps in this one?
There's a big chance of that. There's also a shoot the wiver. Yeah,
shoot the wiver. Love it. Well, we know you're on a tight schedule today, Keith, and we know you got an appointment coming up here shortly. We appreciate you coming on again, man. Like, congratulations. This is epic. I'm excited to play this. Scott, do you got anything else for us before I do the outro?
You definitely need to buy this game. This is one of those where you look at it and you're like, yeah, you need to have this in your collection, especially if you have a Godzilla. Absolutely. Yes. It's necessary to have it in your collection.
At least wait to play it.
Okay. I'll play it on Thursday and then I'll tell you that I'm really going to order it.
I will play it when it's in my house. No, you're right. Do get your hands on it. The Pinball at the Zoo is coming up this weekend. This is going to be the first appearance for Kong there. If you can get to the show, get your hands on Kong. It's definitely going to be worth it.
I think we're also coming to the Golden State Festival. And the Seattle Tacoma show will have a big booth there too.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you guys are going to be all over the nation here in the next couple of months. So there shouldn't be a reason not to get out and put your hands on it. So,
Josh, you should definitely talk about our Patreon that we're working on. Josh started the Patreon, and the whole goal of the Patreon is actually to really help fund us going to these events so we can get stuff for you. And I big thank you to Stern and Zach Sharp, because we actually have two people part of the Winter Kids Club, and we reached out and both of them wanted to come. So if you want your chance in the future, join the Patreon. Also send us feedback. Tell us what things you would be interested in the Patreon. All the money actually goes directly back into really providing material for you in the podcast. So we want to make sure you get any value for your money. The whole purpose of this is just to keep things going and to bring you a better product. And so definitely check that out. And if you are interested, join the high level. And then we do a random drawing to see who will be able to come with us, and we'll contact you. And so we can't pay for your way out, but it's an opportunity to come out with us, and you can help support Josh and me by getting us out there.
Yep, definitely. If you want to get a hold of us, we are loserkidpinballpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to get a hold of us on any of the socials at loserkidpinball, subscribe, all that jazz. You know how it goes. Thanks again, Keith. Scott, give us our last words.
Bye, King Kong. Actually, you know what? I want bang a gong. That's what I want in this game. Bang a gong.
I know what you want.
Oh yeah.